sit down and study for hours, and by the next morning, most of it has vanished. Yet in Japan, students memorize over 2,000 characters and carry that knowledge for the rest of their lives. How? You've probably lived this yourself. A full evening with the books, you close them feeling like you got somewhere. Then morning arrives, and your brain acts like none of it happened. It's not laziness or lack of intelligence. It's just how memory works. The brain holds on to what feels worth keeping and drops everything else. Here's what makes Japan different. Before graduating high school, Japanese students are expected to know thousands of kanji characters. Not just recognize them on a page, but write them by hand, pronounce them correctly, and use them across completely different contexts. Picture holding 2,000 tiny puzzles in your head, each carrying multiple meanings, and not losing a single one years down the road. So how do they pull it off? Do they study longer than anyone else? Do they give up weekends to bury themselves in textbooks? Not quite. The real difference is that Japanese students don't just study. They follow a routine that works with the brain, not against it. It's a rhythm, not a grind. In this video, we're going to break it into steps you can actually use, no matter what you're trying to learn. Because if they can hold thousands of symbols in memory for a lifetime, imagine what that same approach could do for your exams, your work, or a language you've been meaning to pick up. Most students assume learning starts the moment they sit down at their desk. In Japan, the preparation begins much earlier, sometimes the moment they open their eyes. Why? Because the brain isn't a machine you switch on whenever you need it. It's more like soil. Plant seeds in dry, neglected ground and nothing takes root. Give it water, warmth, and light. And suddenly what you put in actually grows. Here's how Japanese students prepare that soil before the books ever open. Before studying begins, many Japanese students step outside. Even a short walk to school or a few minutes near an open window puts their brain in contact with natural light. That sunlight carries a signal. Time to be alert. Scientifically, morning light boosts cortisol at the right moment and resets the circadian rhythm, which means sharper memory and stronger focus through the first part of the day. Some students also do light movement, not a full workout, just enough to get blood circulating. Research confirms that even 10 minutes of gentle activity can improve memory recall by around 20%. Rather than jumping straight into new material, Japanese students often start by going back over what they covered the day before. Not rereading, not highlighting. Pulling the information out of their own heads, testing themselves before adding anything new. This is the opposite of what most Western students do. We obsess over input, more reading, more videos, more notes. In Japan, the emphasis is on output, drawing knowledge back out. Recalling yesterday's material first thing in the morning strengthens those neural pathways right before new ones are built on top. This next part surprises people. Japanese culture places real value on small, quiet rituals. Pouring tea slowly, arranging a desk before sitting down, taking a breath before beginning. These habits might seem unrelated to studying, but they serve a purpose. Rituals tell the brain that this moment is different from the rest. That's what shifts information from short-term into long-term storage. The Japanese morning routine isn't about moving fast. It's about alignment, light, movement, recall, stillness. The right conditions for planting knowledge. Only then does serious study begin. Here's a mistake many students make. They treat the afternoon like a marathon. Hours of cramming, coffee keeping them upright, pressure doing the rest. Japanese students take a very different approach. They don't fight the brain's natural rhythms. They study with them, using focused blocks of effort. Instead of sitting for 3 or 4 hours straight, Japanese students typically work in concentrated intervals. around 40 minutes of focused study followed by 10 minutes of rest. This mirrors how the brain actually operates. Periods of sharp attention followed by natural dips. When those dips arrive, they stop. A short walk, some stretching, looking out the window. It feels like lost time, but it's the reset that keeps memory working. When you take a break right after learning, the hippocampus continues replaying that material in the background. So while it feels like rest, your brain is filing things away. Instead of rereading the same chapter over and over, Japanese students return to material at deliberate intervals. This is spaced repetition. Learn it on day 1. Recall it on day 2. Come back on day 4. Again on day 7. Each time the memory becomes more solid, like a blade sharpened with each pass. After a month of this, the knowledge is embedded deeply enough that forgetting it takes real effort. And this method doesn't require more time. It takes less because you stop spending hours reviewing things your brain has already filtered out. There's another habit working in the background. In the afternoon, Japanese students tend to avoid the heavy meals that leave you foggy and slow. Lunches are lighter: rice, vegetables, fish, foods that provide steady energy without the blood sugar spike and crash. This matters more than people think. Focus isn't purely willpower, it's biology. When the body is steady, the mind follows. Another practice shows up even in crowded classrooms. Students take tiny mindful pauses, a slow breath, adjusting posture, noticing the quiet. These small resets prevent mental fatigue from building across the day. Western students push through exhaustion. Japanese students step back, reset, and return sharper. The Japanese afternoon isn't about doing more. It's about doing better. Studying in focused bursts, reviewing at timed intervals, eating for clarity, and pausing before the mind wears down. That's how they stay consistent for weeks, and why their knowledge is still there on exam day. Most students think the day ends when they shut their books. In Japan, the evening carries as much weight as the study session itself. Nighttime is when the brain decides what gets kept and what gets cleared. Instead of scrolling through a phone before bed, Japanese students often spend about 10 minutes doing a light review of what they covered that day. Just 10 minutes. Reviewing right before sleep tells the brain this information mattered. During the night, the hippocampus replays the material it encountered most recently. That's how short-term knowledge becomes long-term memory. Think of it like saving a file. If you don't save before shutting down, the work disappears. That's exactly what happens when you study hard, but skip the review before bed. Research has confirmed this repeatedly. Deep sleep is one of the most powerful things you can do for learning. While you're asleep, the brain processes what you took in during the day, discarding the noise and reinforcing the signals that matter. But this only happens in the deeper stages of sleep, which is why Japanese students take sleep hygiene seriously. Lights down in the evening, screens off an hour before bed, a calm wind down, instead of stimulation right up to the last moment. Because every late-night scroll, every extra coffee, every one more episode steals from the memory you spent the whole day building. The idea of Kaizen, continuous small improvement, doesn't stop in the afternoon. Many Japanese students set a small goal before sleep. One sentence written in a journal, one flashcard recalled, one character practiced. It's not about volume, it's about rhythm. A day that ends with a small step forward carries momentum into the next. There's a Japanese word, ema. It means the space between things, the pause, the silence. At night, students often sit with a few minutes of quiet before sleep. No rushing, no background noise, just stillness. This isn't wasted time. It's the bridge that lets the mind move from stimulation into restoration. When the body rests, the mind remembers. Western students often live in extremes, late-night cramming leading to exhausted mornings, drowsy afternoons, then more cramming. Japanese students, through generations of cultural habit, have arrived at a truth that's easy to overlook. It's not the intensity of a single study session that builds real knowledge. It's the consistency of daily rhythm, light reviews, calm evenings, deep rest. And the result isn't just better test scores, it's knowledge that stays. The Japanese evening isn't about grinding harder. It's about working with your biology. Review lightly, sleep deeply, end the day with calm, let the brain do the rest. The secret isn't only in how you study, it's in how you close the day. The Japanese students you look at with admiration aren't built differently. They don't have more brain power, higher IQs, or some advantage you don't have access to. What they have is rhythm. Morning isn't rushed, it's aligned. Afternoon isn't heavy, it's structured. Evening isn't wasted, it's sealed. Night isn't chaotic, it's restorative. Stack those habits together and something real starts to happen. Knowledge doesn't just pass through your mind on the way to a test. It stays. It becomes part of how you think. Every time you've told yourself you're just not a morning person or that you'll never retain this stuff, what if that wasn't about you? What if it was the method? Because what Japanese students show, consistently, is that you don't need more hours. You need better rhythm. Here's the invitation. Tomorrow morning, try just one part of this routine, not the whole system, not perfection. One small step, maybe 2 minutes of movement before you open anything, maybe one quick review of yesterday's notes, maybe putting your screen away 30 minutes before you sleep tonight. Do it once. Notice how it feels. Then let rhythm do its work. No supplement, no app, no last-minute session has ever come close to the clarity and retention this routine builds. It's simple, it's human, and it works. If this shifted how you think about learning, subscribe. Share this with someone who's been struggling to make things stick. Let's change the way we learn, together. Because the future won't belong to those who study the longest. It belongs to those who learn to work with their own minds. And that starts tonight.